Hello, my name is Joshua Mugabe. I welcome you to Vegetative Reproduction. Vegetative reproduction is a form of asexual reproduction in plants. So, what we are meaning is that here in vegetative reproduction, it is a type of reproduction which is asexual reproduction, and this one is taking place in plants. When we say asexual reproduction, this means that there is no use of gametes, but we use parts of the plant to reproduce, but no gametes. It does not involve flowers, pollination, and seed production. In vegetative reproduction, we don't have flowers because it is taking place in plants, and the reproductive part of the plant is a flower. But we know that in asexual reproduction, there is no need of gametes. Therefore, some of the plants may not have flowers. And in the flowers, of course, after fertilization, pollination, there has to be seeds. The ovules are going to be fertilized and they will produce seed production. So in vegetative propagation, it does not involve flowers. There is no use of flowers and there is no production of seeds. Instead, a new plant grows from a vegetative part, usually stem of the parent plant. So here, since we are not using sexual reproduction, no use of gametes, you find that the new plant is going to come from a parent plant part. Usually they are stems. Now when we look at our plant here, let's look at it briefly. Here you can see at the bottom here, we have what we call last year's corm, which is thriving, meaning that it is reducing in size. And here we have the lateral bud growing. Now on this old corm, we had a lateral bud growing. And this lateral bud which is growing is the one which is going to turn into a new plant. Now here we have this year's corm forming. This one is a corm that has already been formed. It came from a bud, and the bud was a part of this last year's corm. And when it grows, it turns into a new plant, which we are having as a shoot here. Now this one is also a new plant that is coming from a bud developing from the stem of last year's corm. However, plants which reproduce asexually almost always reproduce sexually as well, bearing flowers, fruits, and seeds. So the other side, we say that in vegetative propagation does not require flowers and there is no seed production. But here we are saying that plants which reproduce asexually, almost always they reproduce sexually as well, bearing flowers, fruits, and seeds. So are we contradicting? No, we are not contradicting. Some of the plants can reproduce asexually by using the parent plant parts. But at the same time, they may reproduce sexually because they may be having flowers, and then they also have fruits and seeds. I want us to look here. Here we have a plant of the strawberry. I just want us to briefly look at it, and then we can see what we are talking about. When you look at this plant, you will see that this one is our main plant, which is the strawberry plant. And on top, you can see that it has got flowers, which means that it is going to produce fruits and it will produce seeds. But those fruits and seeds, they can now also be used in reproduction, producing other plants. But now let us look at it here. You will see it has runners, lateral runners moving away from the main plant. And when they reach somewhere, again they produce buds. And those buds now develop into a new plant. And now here it will also develop adventitious roots. Now this one can break off. It can break off from the parent, and now it becomes a plant of its own. So you find that there now it is vegetative propagation. It has been got by coming from a stem or part of the plant, but not by use of gametes. So that's what we are saying, that some plants that reproduce asexually, always, sometimes they may reproduce sexually by bearing flowers, fruits, and seeds. Vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction from a stem usually involves bud. So when we are having vegetative propagation from a stem, it is usually having a bud. Now, if we look at our plant here, this one is a rhizome. Now, this rhizome, when you look at it, it is a lateral rhizome. If you look at it here, this is a lateral bud. Now, it develops a bud which is part of the plant, the parent rhizome. And this one now is the one that is going now to develop into a new individual. This bud here, which has grown off from the main plant, it will develop into a new shoot, which will become a new plant. Instead of producing a branch, the bud grows into a complete plant, which eventually becomes a self-supporting plant. So this plant that we are seeing here, it has developed a bud, and this bud is going to grow into a complete plant, which can cut itself off now from the parent plant, and then it develops into a new independent plant. That one is vegetative propagation, whereby a branch which was produced, which is the bud, grows into a complete plant. Since no gametes are involved, plants produced asexually have identical genomes, and the offsprings form what is known as a clone. Now, let's look at our plant here. These plants, when you look at them, this one and this one have been produced by asexual reproduction. There is no use of gametes. Now here we are saying that plants produced asexually, they have identical genomes. By having identical genomes means that they are the same. Their genes are the same. When you look at them, you will see that they are the same, resembling each other. And these offsprings now, which are coming from a comb which was there last year, these offspring, they form what we call a clone. A clone. A clone, these are organisms having the same genome, the same genes. They are similar. They are alike. So that's what we are saying. Because there is no gametes, there is no variation. They look alike. They are identical. In some cases, vegetative reproduction, the structure involved also becomes a storage organ and swell with stored food. For example, the potatoes. So here we are looking at our plant here. If you look at your plant here, you will see that at the bottom here we have swollen parts of the plant. And these swollen parts of the plants, they were roots. They were originally roots and they formed the tuber. Now, this structure of the plant that we see here, some parts became storage organ. The parts of the plant became storage organ and they stored food. So here we are having a piece of the stem which was planted underground. This part here is our piece of stem that was planted underground, and it developed, of course, adventitious roots. We have adventitious roots here, but now here the other parts now developed what we are calling the swelling, and this swelling now are what we are calling the storage organ. All the food that has been produced from the leaves is brought down and stored in this organ. So in vegetative reproduction, some of the structures are involved or they become storage organ, whereby they swell and they store food. Examples, we have sweet potatoes, we have cassava, Irish potato, yams, and so on. Those ones, they swell and store food. The principal type of vegetative reproduction structures are the bulbs, we have the combs, we have the rhizomes, and we have the runners. Those are the types of organisms that undergo vegetative reproduction. For example, here we have a bulb. Here we have got a bulb. Now this bulb, when you look at it, it has a stem here down at the base. Now it has got, of course, the leaf base form new. These ones are new leaf formed. And then here we have the last year withered leaf base form new scales. These ones outside, they are forming the scale, and this is a daughter bulb, and this one is the main bulb. Now these combs, or I mean these bulbs, are one of the principal types of vegetative reproduction. Advantages of vegetative reproduction. What are the advantages of vegetative reproduction? We know that since food store are available throughout the year, the parent plant with its root system can absorb water from quite a wide area, and the two hazards of seed germination are reduced. Now, here we see one of the hazards of seed germination. There is need of water being absorbed from the area around. But here we have the parent. The parent plant can use its root to absorb the water from a wider range of areas, not only depending on that small area. That is one of the hazard. Then another one, there is presence of food storage. These tubers, they store a lot of food. They store a lot of food that can support the new plant compared to the food which is in the seed. Birds are produced in an environment where the parent is able to flourish. But many seeds dispersed from the plants, they never reach a suitable situation for effective germination. So here what we are seeing here, we are seeing that our bird that has been produced, the bird that has been produced, it has been produced in an environment where the parent flourished, which means that this bird also will flourish from this place without any question, because the parent has grown in that space. But when it comes to seeds, when the seeds are dispersed, they may fall in a place where the conditions are not suitable for its germination. So they may not flourish in that environment. That is another advantage of vegetative propagation, that these birds that we have, they are developing in an area where their parents have flourished, which means that it is 100% sure deal that they are also going to flourish in that area. But if it is a seed and that seed moves from the parent and it is dispersed in a new area, there is no guarantee that that seed in that new area, it will flourish like the way its parent flourished in another area. Because it may find that this situation, the situations for effective germinations are not existing there. So that is the advantage of the birds that are being produced by vegetative propagation. Vegetative reproduction does not usually result in rapid and widespread distribution of offsprings in the same way as seed dispersal, but they tend to produce a dense clump of plants with little room for the competitors between them. So another advantage that we are seeing in vegetative reproduction is that in vegetative reproduction, it is not rapid and there is no wide spread of the offsprings. The offsprings are very close to the parent. This one grows here and this one grows here, and then we shall have another one growing here. Then you will find so that many of them, they are growing very close to the parent. And now what is the advantage of that? The advantage of that is that we shall not have a competitor plant growing between them. These competitor plants will not grow between them because these ones are going to suppress them. These plants are going to suppress them. They cannot allow them to grow in between them. Therefore, there will not be competition between these organisms of the same type. There will not be competition from other organisms of different type. Such groups of plants are very persistent, and because their buds and underground food stores can still grow after their foliage have been destroyed by insects, fire, or cultivation. So you find that you have a plant which the upper part of the plant, maybe that is our soil, and the plant part up has been destroyed by insect, or it has been destroyed by the fires or cultivation. And when that part is cut off up, it means that down it is going to leave a part which is already storing food. And this stored food underground and the buds that are there, they are going to provide growth of new plants. And when these new plants now grow, they will come out and then they will give rise to new plants. So you can see that for these ones, they are not bothered with the outer condition of the upper surface of the soil. Whereas if you look at your seed, if the plant is using seed production and upwards there is damage which is carried out by the fire, this plant and the seeds, all of them, they are going to be destroyed. And when they are destroyed, that means that there is no any further growth of that type of plant. But if we look at ours, if this upper part is destroyed by fire, there is no problem. When it is destroyed by fire, we still have food storage at the bottom or underground, which is not destroyed. And this food store has got buds which are going to germinate and then develop into new foliage. Those of them regarded as weed, they are difficult to eradicate, since even a small piece of rhizome bearing a bud can give rise to a new colony or crowns. Now, if you look at this grass of ours, these ones, the grass that grow by vegetative propagation, they are very difficult to eradicate. Why? Because even a smaller piece like this one will develop into a new plant. A smaller piece like this one is cut off, it develops into a new plant. So these rhizomes here are going, each part which breaks off will develop into a new individual plant. Now that one makes them to be very difficult to eradicate. So they can survive in an environment where there is a lot of use of chemicals, where there is a lot of weeding, where there is a lot of diseases and so on. Hello, my friend. Thank you very much for participating in vegetative reproduction. Please do like, share, and subscribe.